Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 7:06. Thank you for indulging a slight pause, just to allow everybody to get here in traffic. Welcome this evening. My name is Bo Breeden. I'm the president of the Broadneck Council of Communities. If you're not familiar, hopefully you're familiar with the Broadneck Council, but we are a organization which is a 501c4 dedicated to the protection of our peninsula, promotion of environmental improvements, the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and compliance with the critical area laws. That's our sort of overarching focus. In between that is all the aspects of day-to-day life on the peninsula and how we can either help improve it or allow for at least conversations with our elected officials and other government agencies to have input into how things impact us, like Route 50, like the Bay Bridge, and other associated things in the area of Annapolis that impact the Broadneck Peninsula. Just real quickly, I would like to introduce just the members of the Broadneck Council. Myself, I'm from Cape St. Clair, if you're not familiar. This is Pat Lynch. She's over in Amberley. We have, if you would stand up, Rick Ridgewald is over in Amberley. I believe I have George. Do I have George back there? Yep, George. He's in Dickory. We got John Joins. He's down on Burley on the Creek. Peter Bradley's out in Homewood out in Whitehall. Richard Roy, I thought I saw walked in. He's over in Stonington. Melanie, I see you back there now. And she's over, Melanie Janess is over in Browns Woods. I don't know if I see any other members or board of directors, but we all meet, just so everybody knows, on a monthly basis. It is the fourth Thursday of the month. We meet either here or over at my office in Arnold, since I have a meeting room, and we discuss the business of the council and issues ongoing and coordinate from there. We are hosting tonight our third membership meeting. We will not get 4 in this year. We're going to stop at 3, and we'll try to get 4 in next year with everything that's been going on in our lives. But that is the reason Britt was waving at me, is we're always looking for new members. We're always looking for new volunteers. If you're interested in volunteering and helping have discussions on the Broadneck Peninsula, different developments, housing developments, roadway changes at the county level, at the state level, and even at the federal level to some extent. We want to. That's what we work on. We partner with groups like the Arnold Preservation Council, the Greater Severna Park Chamber, or not Greater Severna Park, Greater Severna Park Council, which is a group of homeowners up there, and we try to help. Work with Anne Arundel County and the state to at least have our voices heard, I think is the important part. So tonight we have our elected speakers for the Broadneck Peninsula area, both District 30. We have Senator Henson and Delegate Behler. And we also have from District 33, we have Senator Gile and Delegate Bagnall. And then our councilwoman for District 5 here in the county, Councilwoman Fiedler. So they will all be here to speak. I had agendas in the back, and then we'll take a short break, and we only have the illustrious Teri Soos here today to do an update on different things, but we do have other staff members from State Highway that can answer additional questions. Kim, unfortunately, had a family emergency and had to bail sort of here at the last minute. So I will hand this over to Senator Henson and Delegate Behler on updates on District 30 and go from there. You just,
Thank you.
Just place that in front of you and get the line.
Thank you. I'm Shaneka Henson. I represent District 30. So our parts of the Broadneck Peninsula, we have the Mulberry Hill area, Browns Woods area. We also have Kimberly Woods area. We have those parts. If you're crossing over the Severn River Bridge and you're going in that eastbound direction, we have the properties that are on the left side of that. So everything on the left side, not where the dealerships are, but on the other side. So hopefully we've knocked your door, got an opportunity to get out and see you and meet you. If you were around in 2022, we were in this room in 2022, making the case for ourselves as candidates at that time. At that time, I was delegate for District 30A. Now I get the opportunity to serve and represent us in the Maryland Senate. So the full District 30, which extends to more southern parts of the county as well. In the Maryland Senate, I'm on the Judicial Proceedings Committee. So that's the committee that deals with our state's criminal laws, our family laws, some of our business regulations, our estates and trust articles, our real property laws, and our landlord-tenant laws as well. So that's my committee assignment. We are headed into our legislative session, so I do want to talk about some of the legislation that I'm working on, but there's always opportunities to continue to collaborate, particularly this early on. It's early because we haven't started session, but it's kind of not early because deadlines are already popping up in terms of priorities for bills and what we're working on and getting those things solidified. But a few things that are important to talk about too are opportunities to engage. Every session, we always have young people who join us in my office for shadow days. If there's any folks who who are interested in the process, please encourage them to come out and do that. We always have opportunities to intern in the office as well. Folks are encouraged to come out and do that. If you have any milestones that you want to celebrate and come out and do that by being in the gallery or joining us as a guest on the floor, we always want to have people come out and engage the process because Annapolis and the State House truly is your resource. I just get the opportunity to represent you as a representative there. A lot of the things that I'm working on for next session are centered around those laws and those policies that come to the Judicial Proceedings Committee. I am an attorney by trade, so I think that's why I got assigned to JPR, because that's kind of where they send all the attorneys to. I don't know if punish is the right word, but to make sure that we're using all those good legal skills that law school gave us. So I'm working on some things. My first job as an attorney, I represented survivors of domestic violence at the YWCA right there in Arnold on Ritchie Highway. So I'm working on some things that would help survivors of domestic violence. One of them is a group of women who work with women who are incarcerated. They came to me and they said, our laws are not responsive enough to women who've survived domestic violence. We have ways that we acknowledge if a person maybe committed a crime and they had, a drug problem, or if a person had a number of other instances that were, resulting in that action that happened, but domestic violence wasn't being considered. So we're looking at ways that we can incorporate that more when we're talking about a person's criminal activity, whether it be at the sentencing phase or what happens, for additional opportunities to return to the community. So we're looking at domestic violence more holistically. We're also looking at opportunities to keep people safe from having their information exposed with an anti-doxing bill. We had some young people come to us from the University of Maryland who were out using their ability to protest their First Amendment rights, and as a result of that, some people intentionally targeted them. They came to those protests not with the intent of also using their First Amendment right, but they came with the intent of, identifying who was there and then using that identification to target those students. They were calling people's parents and harassing them. They were contacting their professors. They were using that information in a whole host of negative ways to try to get those students to not use their First Amendment rights to protest. And so we want to make sure we keep students safe from that sort of activity. There are things I'm doing that dip outside of my committee as well, like working with families that need access to affordable childcare. We understand that childcare is important so that families can continue working, but we also heard from a number of people who do childcare as a business and have said as a business model, it's become really hard to maintain too. So we're working with small and family childcare centers to create what would be a pool of childcare workers that are licensed and certified who can be on standby to jump in if you need someone to provide that service. So if you own a childcare center, you may be operated out of your home, and let's say you're sick and you need a day off, and that happens, overnight as it happens when you're sick. But what do? All the families whose kids would come to your daycare, you got to call them all and say, hey, I'm sick and I have to close the childcare for the day. You can imagine the collateral consequences that causes for all the families and for your business line, your bottom line for your business as well. So this would create a pool of people who you could call, who could come in, who are certified, licensed by the state, safe childcare workers who can come in, keep your business going, keep those families' childcare consistent, to be able to jump in at the last minute for you. So working on that as well. Living close to a highway you all can appreciate as well. We're working on some things to help identifying with human trafficking, to make sure that different licensed occupations are getting training on that, especially those occupations that come in contact with people frequently who might be victims of human trafficking, so that we can better identify those folks and then get interventions out to them sooner. The last one I'll touch on is we have a bill that we're working on that came to us from Maryland Automobile Insurance Fund about predatory towing. It's become an increasing problem because we have under-regulated the towing industry, and now even the insurance companies are complaining, which, you know, who has sympathy for insurance companies? But what's happening is these tow companies, they tow your vehicle, and then once they have it, they kind of can hold it for ransom and say, we want X number of dollars to be able to return your vehicle to you. The insurance companies got involved because it was exploding the cost of claims. Once they had the vehicle, it's a part of your claim, being able to get it back from the tow company to do the repairs that are needed. Well, when it was an insurance company on the other end, the tow lots were exploding the cost to return it, and so then it was making everybody's claims go up, making the premiums go up. So we're working on a bill that would bring more regulation to that area so that it wouldn't be such an open-ended, ripe for predatory practices area. So we have some stuff there, and a whole host of other things that we're working on. So I went first, so I'm not sure what the exact format is. So if this was not it, please forgive me. My legislative director, Dr. Linda Bonner, is here with me today as well, and we'll stick around and we'll be happy to chat with you about any questions that you have. Thank you.
Well, good evening. It's such an honor to be back with you all. I'm Dylan Behler. I have the honor of serving alongside Senator Henson, Delegate Bagnall, and Senator Gile. I represent District 30A, so all of those same districts that Senator Henson was talking about. I was appointed to the House of Delegates in February, becoming the youngest member of the House of Delegates, which is a very cool honor to have. But I think with that, my generation brings a little bit of a different perspective to a lot of issues, and I'm really excited to talk about that a little bit with you tonight. In the House of Delegates, I serve on the Environment and Transportation Committee, where we deal with everything related to the environment and transportation. So all transportation-related bills, funding, public transportation networks, bike trails, all the environmental stuff, so oversight of the Maryland Department of the Environment, so all the permitting, regulatory conversations, also the Department of Natural Resources, so everything that comes with that. And then we also deal with all housing-related matters, so that's a really big priority for us right now as well. Prior to joining the House of Delegates, I served as State Senator Sarah Elfreth's Chief of Staff for about 5.5 years in the State Senate, and then after that, I joined Governor Moore's administration at the Department of Natural Resources, where I served as a legislative director representing the agency before the legislature. So I came and spoke to you guys in, I forget what month, but right after the legislative session. And at that point in time, I really talked a lot about energy. So I want to do a little bit of that tonight. I think some other folks might talk about that as well. But I'll talk about energy, what I think our driving forces are heading into the next legislative session, what we're thinking about, and then talk about some of the bills that I'm working on as well. So firstly on energy, when I was here before, we talked a lot about the massive pieces of legislation that we passed this session to try to rein in everybody's energy bills. It's something that we're all struggling with. My energy bill has gone up tremendously, and I think it's something that the legislature was acutely aware of, and we tried to address as best we could. So we made a lot of substantive changes this past session, and I talked about those before. Reining in the STRIDE program, so that way these energy companies can't pass along unnecessary upgrades to infrastructure to all of us, the ratepayers. Reining in the multi-year rate plans, expanding our battery storage capacity in the state, generating more electricity in states, so we're not at the whims of our neighboring states, and PJM, which is the regional grid operator. So we did all that last session, but there's more work to do to be able to drive down the cost of energy. I think one of the things that it's not easy to find bipartisan consensus anymore, but data centers seem to be one of those things. So I think collectively we're all really thinking about data centers, and yes, they do have an economic benefit to our communities, but they do also use a tremendous amount of energy. And if you drive through Northern Virginia, you can certainly see that. And I think one thing that we're trying to be creative with is making sure that our ratepayers here in Maryland are not subsidizing data centers in other states, and having conversations about how can we put more of the burden on the infrastructure that those data centers are requiring on those data centers themselves, because I don't think we really should be subsidizing the massive infrastructure that's needed on that front when it's specifically going to a private corporation for their gain. So that's one thing. I think there's a lot of other conversations to be had around energy. One other big thing that the Public Service Commission is reviewing right now through one of their rulemaking processes is conversations around different rate levels for income brackets. That's not really in the legislature yet, but that's one thing that I think the Public Service Commission is looking at. And there's a lot of different conversations just to try to bring down affordability. So energy is one big part of affordability, but I think that is going to be a huge part of the driving force for us this legislative session. It's one thing that we all hear about quite regularly, and I think that comes together on a variety of different things. And in my committee, I think one of the biggest ways that we can drive down affordability is related to housing. And, you know, Governor Moore and the Department of Housing and Community Development and Secretary Day, they will certainly have their housing proposals. I think we're trying to currently formulate what that's going to look like. Right now, I'm working on legislation with the Department of Housing and Community Development related to vesting timelines. So there is, not Anne Arundel, but there are counties across the state that if they don't want to expand housing production and increase the supply of housing, what they do sometimes is they change the rules along throughout the process to delay and delay and delay. And, you know, I'm having conversations with the department to try and figure out ways in which we can make that clearer, so that way if folks are interested in expanding access to housing, then the rules aren't going to be consistently changed through it. There's also some other exciting bills coming from the Department of Planning. For example, last session they updated their planning principles, so that's how counties design their comprehensive plans. So they changed it to be more focused on different things that are more impactful today, including resilience, you know, lowering affordability. So they're going to come forward with another bill to codify that, so that way counties moving forward have to incorporate those new pillars into their comprehensive plans. In addition, some of the other big things that are going to come through my committee, environment, right? There's a lot of, you know, I try, as state legislators, I try my best to focus on the state work, but, you know, one of the things that the federal administration is doing right now is really targeting a lot of our environmental protections. So I think right now we're really trying to figure out creative ways to insulate Maryland, protect the Chesapeake Bay, and protect the environment that we all love here in this community, and why we chose to live here. Other big topics that are going to probably come through my committee, automated enforcement, and I think that comes through Senator Henson's committee as well, is a huge conversation and something that comes up every year, automated speed camera enforcement. One idea that's been circulating a lot more now is Montgomery and Prince George's counties have automated noise enforcement. So if you have an incredibly loud car, that's an idea that's been circulating around a little bit more. Yeah, so that's some of the overarching big picture stuff. And then lastly, just a few bills that I'm working on. I'm working with the Forestry Foundation on legislation to incentivize private landowners to conserve more forest. We know that we're losing forest and tree canopy across the state. So one of the best tools that we have is to incentivize it. And the really interesting part of this proposal is we know all forest cover is not the same, right? So this will provide targeted incentives to private landowners to preserve the best, most high quality forest. So I'm really excited about that. Working on a few different pieces of legislation related to libraries. So firstly, adding, in Anne Arundel County, we have a student member on our library board. I think we're the only library board of trustees that has that. So I talked to a bunch of students over the summer, and they were interested in expanding that statewide. So expanding that statewide and giving students a voice at the library table. And then one other piece of library legislation is related to audiobooks. So I don't know if any of you use the Libby app, but if you have Libby, you can get audiobooks through your library membership in Anne Arundel County. And one thing that book publishers are doing is they're kind of taking advantage of our library systems, because they are increasing the prices that they charge libraries to be able to rent out those audiobooks while limiting the number of copies that they have. So one thing that Connecticut did and that other states are looking at is passing legislation to give libraries more leverage in those negotiations. So I'm excited to be working on that. And then last thing that I'll touch on is a big priority for me in this seat, representing Annapolis and these communities and your communities, is resilience. So when I was at the Department of Natural Resources, we put together a large resilience package that was focused on financing, flood insurance, better disclosures for property owners, and that proposal didn't move forward. So I'm trying to figure out right now what parts of that we can move forward with, or I can move forward with in this role. But I think the biggest part is to try and continue to find creative funding solutions, because we know that our communities are struggling with flooding. I think we were just talking, Annapolis has seen a 900% increase in sunny day flooding over the past few years. So that's one thing that I'm excited to continue working on. So thank you. It's an honor to serve in this seat. And as Senator Henson said, if you have any ideas, our doors are always open. So thank you.
Next up, we'll have our team from District 33, Senator Gile and Delegate Bagnall. We're just going to hold questions till a little bit later after they're all done, and Councilwoman Fiedler will take some Q&A at that time.
Yeah, well, thank you both. Good evening, everyone. I'm Senator Dawn Gile. I represent District 33 in the Maryland Senate. I know I see a lot of familiar faces here this evening, but it's a pleasure to represent you, and it's good to see you all here this evening. I have some of issues that I wanted to talk about that I think will be some of the top issues that I wanted to hit on for this upcoming legislative session. Talk a little bit about the bills that I'm going to be sponsoring or looking at sponsoring for this upcoming session. I did want to make a quick announcement. You may have seen in the newspaper recently or online. I don't know if people get the actual newspaper anymore, but you may have seen online actually that there's going to be a major widening project of I-97. I was really excited about that. I participated in the press conference this week with MDOT and SHA. I know it's a long time coming that bottleneck has really impacted also just more broadly our entire traffic ecosystem here in Anne Arundel County. It trickles down across Route 3, Route 2, and elsewhere, 50. And so that project, $113 million project, will begin in 2028. So it's going to be a little bit until it's done. Like all things, I know there's planning and then actual implementation. The county also, Anne Arundel County, and thank you to our county partners, kicked in money as well for that project. And so I'm really excited to see that. I know a lot of people have expressed frustration with that. So we're not going to let off the gas. I guess we're talking about traffic, right? We're not going to let off the gas. So on all the other important projects that we'd like to see done, especially some of the issues you've had along Route 2 and Route 50, but and of course, we can't forget the Bay Bridge. But I'm excited to announce that project will be forthcoming. As far as some of the things that I've been working on in the interim, I serve on the Private Passenger Automobile Insurance Affordability Work Group, which just is we get really, really clever a lot of times with our work group and committee and commission titles, but it's just a really fancy way of saying that it's a group of individuals, both from the Maryland General Assembly. I'm the Senate appointee. From the Maryland Insurance Administration, from MAIF, the Maryland Auto Insurance Fund, and then our insurance industry partners, looking at car insurance costs and what are the factors that are driving up our car insurance costs here, our premiums here in the state of Maryland, and what are some of the things that we can do to lower our insurance premiums. So that work has begun. Our next meeting is October 28th. So next week, all of the meetings, if you go online, I'm happy to share that information, by the way. I know it's long title, but if you are interested, those meetings are broadcasted live. There'll be a report coming up soon too. So I'm looking forward to those recommendations from that work group. Another issue I've been hearing a lot from people, there was a bill, I'm calling it SB1, that's what the bill number was in the Senate, and I know that there was a House cross-file as well. And that was an issue regarding the sudden lack of it was a bill that was targeting some predatory practices by alternative retail energy suppliers. It has ultimately led, though, with a sudden lack of choice in Maryland's retail energy market. I know if any of you have used some alternative suppliers, wind suppliers, things like that, you may have seen that all of them have now left the state of Maryland. I know a lot of people have been frustrated by that. And so we have been having some conversations about what are the things that we could be doing on that bill. there's certain practice that I think were downright predatory to some vulnerable communities and deceptive consumer practices, and those are not the things, of course, we want to see. But there were some good actors, and we want to see what we can do to bring those back and give people some greater choice in the retail energy market. So those are ongoing discussions that we'll be having now. Another big issue, I serve on the Senate Finance Committee. I'm a lawyer as well. Unfortunately, I haven't had the torture yet of the JPR committee, like my fellow lawyer here, Senator Henson. But I serve on the Senate Finance Committee, and that committee hears issues related to, among other things, healthcare. And my colleague, Delegate Bagnall here, also serves on a health committee in the House of Delegates. One really big issue that we'll be working on in this upcoming session, it's called the AHEAD model. So for the last more than 40 years, Maryland has been the only state in the country where it can set uniform hospital reimbursement rates for all payers. It's called the all-payer model. So for Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance, this has led to, has provided greater stability and predictability for patients, employers, and for hospitals as well. However, the federal government is now phasing out the roughly $4 billion annually in supplemental payments that helped with that model. So Maryland has applied to join the federal AHEAD model, and that's the Advancing All-Payer Health Equity Approaches and Development. Lots of acronyms, lots of long titles, to preserve our system as long as possible. So the Finance Committee has been working with the Maryland Hospital Association, HGO, or Health and Government Operations Committee in the House. We'll also be working on that. It's very kind of nuanced, but it's a very, very big issue, and will be one of the most, I think, consequential policy issues that will be related to healthcare that we'll be working on in the upcoming legislative session. And we're ultimately working to, proactively protect Marylanders against healthcare cost shocks. It's something that's been very important to me. I think I talked earlier in April on a bill that I worked on the Prescription Drug Affordability Board and reining in prescription drug costs. And this continues to be something that we're working on in the General Assembly. I'll hit upon just a couple of the bills that I'll be working on in the upcoming legislative session. One thing that is really important to me is maternal health outcomes. In Maryland, we have received a C rating in the National Maternal National Maternal Health Report Card. It's just really downright depressing to me how bad our maternal health outcomes are here in the state of Maryland, especially when we pride ourselves on having some of the most premier health care institutions in the country, whether it's be Hopkins, whether it be NIH, and we're just not getting it right. And so there's been some specific policy issues that I've been working on, experts that know far greater on this particular issue than I do, as well as with the Maryland Department of Health. And I look forward. I don't know if there's one big solution that's going to fix this problem entirely, but it's, I think something that should be important to everybody. It's something that I care deeply about, and that I'm looking forward to working on this upcoming session. Another bill that I've been working on is a package to strengthen some child abuse situations, especially those in our public schools. Particularly one particular issue related to crisis support when there's been reports of allegations of abuse within a school, and what kind of measures we could be doing to provide trauma-informed counseling, other crisis support services, and how we handle those types of reports. I'm also working on a bill related to anti-SLAPP, which is another fancy acronym, SLAPP. But these are it's in response to certain types of litigation. People file a lawsuit basically to intimidate somebody. So if there's a victim and they go to report a crime, and if you get a lawsuit later from that person to kind of shut you up and to intimidate you, it takes a while for somebody to be able to get a case dismissed. Other states have stronger anti-SLAPP legislation in place. And so that's something that I'm looking to, and will be needing support from Senator Henson and JPR on later, and come begging for her support. But anyway, those are some of the things that I've been working on. As always, I think the same is true for all of my colleagues up here. If you have any questions on any bills that come before the General Assembly, or any ideas for legislation, please reach out to me. My Chief of Staff is Allison O'Brien, is in the back there. We also brought some constituent services guides. So if there's that provide some details about some of the services that my office offers, I urge you to grab one on your way out. And I guess I'll turn it over now to my colleague, Delegate Heather Bagnall.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Delegate Heather Bagnall. I represent here. I represent District 33C, which is the Broadneck Peninsula and Severna Park. I actually grew up in Cape St. Clair, so I'm always a Caper in my heart. But I live in Shore Acres now, so I love you all equally. So I have kept my agenda this legislative session fairly light. I actually set a timer so I would be aware of the time. Because I am the chair of the Public Health and Minority Health Disparities Subcommittee. That means that I have everything population health, I have maternal health, I have the IDD, DDA, so the developmental disabilities community, I have oral health, behavioral health, and everyone under Medicaid. So this has been a very busy interim because local government is operating in a way that we've never operated before. So I kept my agenda very light to make sure that I would have capacity to respond to some of what is coming from the federal government. So I'm going to talk a little bit about 5 aspects of things that we have been monitoring, things that we have been doing, some preventative measures that we have taken, that we took in the last session, and that we're working on now. Many of you have heard about HR 1. They were calling it the OBA. I can't say the title, it's just weird. But for those of us in population health, it was really devastating because it was a 330-page bill. Obviously, I can't go through the whole bill in 10 minutes, but I'll focus on the Medicaid aspect because you've probably heard things about it, but what does it mean? What does it mean for Maryland? It means that in Maryland, about 230,000 Marylanders are on Medicaid. In Anne Arundel County, that translates to about 9,279 people. They are the primary payer for 25% of Marylanders. They are the primary payer for almost 50% of our children, 40% of births in Maryland. They pay 1 in 3. They are the primary payer for 1 in 3 people with disabilities and 5 out of 8 residents in nursing homes. So it's a big impact when we start looking at cutting Medicaid. Well, what we are seeing is that they have pushed out the timeline, so we have some time to respond. We have some time to figure things out. One of the things that we did is that we did not cut any programming in advance because Maryland operates on what we call a waiver system. So Medicaid insures individuals, but we also have waivers for services where people can become eligible for Medicaid to pay for services. And every waiver requires a contract. It is a contract with the federal government. Maryland does a demonstration to prove that this is how we will use the funds, and we're able to leverage money that we get from the federal government with state dollars to be able to access those programs. So we did not cut any of our programming under the waivers because the waivers are a federal contract. So we were able to retain those funds, but those waivers expire in 2026. We have to renegotiate them. One of the aspects of HR 1 is this work requirement. Now, 72% on average of Medicaid recipients already meet the work requirements. There are a lot of in that remaining population who are exempted through a number of different exemptions. But the challenge that Maryland has is that the redetermination went from yearly to every 6 months. Now, Medicaid 96% of Medicaid goes directly to services. So they have a very low overhead. But when you're doubling the workload on that redetermination, you're actually increasing significantly the administrative burden, which is going to be on the shoulders of the state, not on the federal government. So in anticipation of that, we actually reactivated our redetermination. So during the end of the emergency order under COVID, we did what was called the Medicaid unwinding, because we had expanded the Medicaid population that was eligible under COVID. We actually did a really great job in Maryland. And, years and years ago, before the Affordable Care Act, we were at 14% uninsured. We're now right around 6%. When we did the unwinding, we were worried that a lot of people were going to be thrown off their insurance. So we activated a statewide effort coordinating with our local partners, our community partners, and we were able to keep people either on their insurance or get them onto the health benefit exchange and get them insurance that they could afford. We have reactivated that effort in anticipation of this potential every 6 months redetermination. So we'll talk about subsidies. You're hearing a lot about the subsidies that are expiring, and we knew that was a possibility. So Maryland passed House Bill 1082, which actually took an existing program, an existing fund that we had, which was the reinsurance fund, and used that to backfill, just in case those subsidies expired, to backfill those subsidies for 2 years. Why did we do that? Because actuaries are not done 2 months out. They're done a year out. And I will tell you, I am not an insurance expert, but actuaries have to be determined well in advance of the expiration of those subsidies. So we said, in order to stabilize the market, we will ensure that those subsidies will continue for 2 years. And as a result, Maryland did not see the significant increases. We're still seeing about 13.4% on average in our insurance. The insurers, the carriers asked for 18%. We were able to negotiate it down. But that was something we did in advance. My colleague talked about the AHEAD model. It is now called the Achieving Healthcare Efficiency Through Accountability Design. So it's gone from this policy that was balancing cost containment with better health outcomes to cost containment. Now, Maryland has done a really great job. We're still in negotiations with that contract, but they have pushed the dates out so that we have time to figure things out and make sure that our hospital systems are stable and that our patients are getting quality care. Hospitals we're going to have a deregulation fight coming up, because one of the things that the federal government also told us we cannot do is we cannot rate set for Medicare. Medicare is a federal program, but until recently, till this administration, Maryland has had the ability to rate set across our entire hospital system, so that no matter what hospital you went and how you were paying, you were always going to be charged the same amount for the same service. Well, once we are not able to rate set for Medicare, there's going to be a fight to deregulate all of our hospital systems. We don't want that to happen in Maryland, because that system ensures quality care and ensures patient choice. So I'm probably going to be reaching out to you to help us fight that and make sure that we can continue to set rates across our entire hospital system. And I will end with EMTALA. Oh, I'm right on time. Okay, so EMTALA is a federal law, which is the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. It was passed in 1986. This is when we talk about hospitals, when we talk about access to care, this is the only place where you are guaranteed access to care. For emergency treatment, hospitals are required to stabilize people who are in an emergent situation, regardless of their ability to pay. Again, it was passed in 1986. It means that people aren't just going to be left on the sidewalk because they're poor, because there was a determination in 1986 that it was in the public good to not let people die because of their inability to pay. There have been attempts to carve out reproductive access, abortion care access. Those carve-outs have not happened in Maryland because those carve-outs have been if the state passed a law banning abortion care. However, we are hearing the potential of another carve-out based on immigration status. EMTALA never spoke to immigration status. It was never intended to. So we may have a fight on our hands, and we may have to pass state law to ensure that nobody is turned away from our hospitals because of their immigration status. Because I will tell you, it's not something that's easy to determine when you're coming in on a stretcher. And we want to make sure that our hospitals, that our providers are not in a position of having to make those determinations, that our Maryland residents are not being, experiencing delayed care, because disease doesn't care. It doesn't care about your financial status. It doesn't care about your immigration status. It doesn't care about your party. So those are some of the fights that we are looking at, and I am continue to be honored to be in this position to take on those fights. But as a result, I have been very restrictive on what I am actually doing. But I want to leave you with some good news in the last minute.
You got time.
I have time? Okay, great. I want to leave you with some good news. One is that we are continuing to fight. Maryland is continuing to lead. We are now part of the Northeast Health Collaborative, which is also going to help us, fight as a unit. Also, those of you who have heard me talk about assisted outpatient treatment, that is for those people who are have severe and persistent mental illness. They're caught in the system. They're not in an emergency situation where they're meeting the dangerous standard, but they're cycling through our hospitals. They're cycling through our jails. They are often cycling through homelessness. We passed the bill 2 years ago. The governor signed it. We spent the last 2 years working on how we were going to implement it, and the regulations, I believe, came out today. So we are going to start, we're actually going to phase it in. Anne Arundel County is in the first phase of assisted outpatient treatment, and we're going to phase it in over 2 years, and then we will be the 48th state to have an assisted outpatient treatment program statewide. Also, the report on the Commission on Public Health. As I said, it's a tough time for public health, but I have been on the Commission on Public Health. We've spent 2 years categorizing like how we take a good system to a great system, what that would look like. And when we saw the loss of institutional knowledge at the federal level, we memorialized it here in the state. We now have a roadmap for public health, regardless of what happens, outside of the walls of Maryland. We have a report of recommendations, best practices, and how a world-class public health system can function. And we've memorialized all of that institutional knowledge as well. In this session, we will be looking at, we're already talking to the Department of Health, and we will be implementing some of those, what we call low-hanging fruit, that are the recommendations coming from that. And with that, I will sit down and say thank you very much.
Thank you both. Next, we have Councilwoman Fiedler, District 5.
So now for the fun stuff, zoning code and sidewalks. Thank you everybody for coming out this evening. I'm Amanda Fiedler, your representative on the Anne Arundel County Council for District 5, representing the Broadneck Peninsula, Severna Park, a little bit of Millersville, and Dairy Farm area of Gambrels. So I'm going to stick to some of the points that the Broadneck Council asked me to touch on, and if there's time afterwards, I'll touch on some legislation that I've worked on this past year. The County Council works a little differently than the General Assembly in that we meet 3 times a month for business meetings for 11 months out of the year. And a lot of the work we do on our own with our legislative council and staff behind the scenes, not as much in the public purview as the General Assembly. So I want to touch on the public campaign finance bill that just passed. Is everyone familiar with Anne Arundel County's public finance law? Raise your hand if you are. Okay, so I will go through this very quickly. A few years ago, the Anne Arundel County Council passed a public campaign finance law that lays out parameters for a candidate if they want to receive public campaign financing. They are set to a standard of qualified contributions. They are set to not accept contributions over a certain amount and from lobbyists. And they have to meet all of these metrics in order to qualify as a candidate to then start receiving the public campaign finances. Now, the current council members and the county executive, though he is term limited, aren't really able to start that process because when you're so far along in your time in office, you've raised so much money, you'd have to then give it all back and start all over. So this is really forward thinking for future candidates. At the time, the bill stipulated that there would be a recommendation from a public campaign finance commission to future fund the public campaign finance bucket. We'll call it a bucket. 2 years ago, the county council put $1 million in that bucket. This last budget, the commission had recommended $1.5 million be put into the campaign finance bucket for the upcoming 2026 election. So the county executive did that. He put $1.5 million in that bucket for the proposed FY26 budget when it came to the council on May 1st. And the council started reviewing what we wanted to do with the budget. The county council can only cut the county budget. We cannot add to it. Only the county executive can add to the budget through a supplemental budget after we make cuts. He then reallocates based on the feedback that we give him on what we would like to see as our priority. When we were looking at what all of the departments came to us and said, thank you, county executive, for including this in the budget, but we still need X, Y, or Z. Every department needed a little more. We had to then look at the existing budget and see what cuts we could make in order to fund some of those requests, understanding that we cannot go over what the county executive has proposed. So when we were looking at the budget, the council made a decision. It was not unanimous. The council made a decision to cut the public campaign financing from $1.5 million to $250 million. Or 250,000. That would not have been a cut. That would have been a substantial add. And the reason that we did that were that there were some very pressing requests that the majority, 4 of us, felt we needed to make this cut in order to, I'm going to give just a high points of what we added through the support of the county executive. We added enough sheriff's vehicles that all but one sheriff in our county now has a sheriff vehicle. We have sheriff's deputies going to their jobs in their personal cars in the courthouse. Can you imagine the security risk that we're putting our deputies at if a family member who has just been tried in court and for whatever reason wants to target law enforcement, sees that deputy leave the courthouse, gets that deputy's license plate, and is able to track them down and follow them? It was a huge security risk for our sheriff's deputies. We were also able to put money back into education and give our board certified school counselors the same pay increase that our educators who are board certified get. There was a discrepancy in the blueprint that didn't translate to those school counselors getting the increase in salary that they deserve for doing the extra work to help with mental health in our students. So we did make that cut to the public campaign finance. In the deliberations, the county executive said, well, once you cut this, you can't add back to it because the bill that was originally passed only allowed for that public campaign finance to be funded one time, and that was through the budget that was in front of us. So what I said from the dais and what the other members of the county council said when we passed the cut was we will go back and fix that campaign finance bill that we passed to allow for the county executive and the county council to then fund the public campaign finance when and if the campaign finance needs more down the road. And that's exactly what we did with the recent bill that passed. It not only took the previous legislation and allowed for the county executive and county council to pass supplementary appropriations any time of the year, to the degree that the controller, we call controller, not comptroller, in the county, deems it necessary to cover the number of qualified candidates who have filed to run in the county. So we have 2 right now. So the controller has not gone through this process yet, but if at any time it is deemed that there's not enough money in the public campaign finance pot of money, we can add to it. We also, through this recent legislation that passed, we added an auditing process. So that is something that is critical as well. And we improved the timeline that the controller has to turn around once a candidate qualifies, has to turn around and then give the candidate that money. Because time is of the essence when you're running for running for an elected office. So if you have to wait 30 days to get the public campaign finance money that you were hoping for, that's not going to work. So the controller has up to 10 days. That's the maximum they have to turn that money around. So I think we actually improved on the original bill and we'll be able to fund public campaign finance moving forward. If I had to do it all over again, I would make the same exact decision because our sheriffs needed those cars and our school counselors needed that pay increase. And we're still going to be okay with the public campaign finance. Wanted to talk about 2 bills that are before the county council. One was recently published in the paper. It's the snow and ice removal from public sidewalks. I don't know that Cape St. Clair has a ton to worry about. A lot of our older communities were not built with sidewalks. But if you are in a community with a sidewalk in the county right of way, the current law says that you must clear the snow and ice from that sidewalk within 6 hours of the end of a storm. If you do not, the police department is supposed to come out and issue a $10 fine. That's it. You could leave it there for 5 days, but you get one $10 fine. There was apparently some issues over on Forest Drive in Annapolis where some residential and commercial sidewalks that were in the county right of way were not cleared. And there were some folks with disabilities and children walking to school and couldn't use the sidewalk. They were hopping into the road. That obviously is not safe. But the bill that was introduced says that you have 24 hours now, which I think is reasonable. It would be inspections and permits that would issue the penalty and fine. I also support that. I don't think our police need to worry about snow and ice on sidewalks. But it said that you would get incremental increases in fines each day. Each day is a new offense. So on the 3rd day, you would start to get fined $500 per day. The bill said that if the county has to go out and clear your sidewalks, you would get a bill for the clearance. And if you didn't pay the bill in the time allotted, the county would put a tax lien on your property so that you would pay the money for that clearing at tax time. Yes, so there was a lot of opposition. I did a newsletter on it via email. Some of my colleagues shared it. The paper wrote about it, and our emails exploded. So we have amended the bill. I did not support the bill in the previous form. We have amended the bill and I didn't mention, there was one exemption. If you were 70 or older, you were exempt from clearing your sidewalk. An amendment passed at the last meeting. You're good. An amendment passed at our last council meeting that gave the department the flexibility to waive the fine and fee for anybody if they had proof that they had a situation that the department deems is not fair to make someone do that. And then another amendment that says basically the government should do the same. I don't know if that's legal. Office of Law said, well, we can't force the federal and state to clear their sidewalks, so that might not be enforceable. But it's moving in a direction of trying to improve it. The bill also, or the amendments last week also adjusted the fine to a cap of $50 one time for residential and $125 one time for commercial. So that's in the works. I'm going to try to talk really fast. That 10 minutes went by fast.
It goes by fast.
I know. There is a bill 8125 in front of the council right now that rewrites the adequate public facilities ordinance for transportation. Say that 5 times fast. I'll try to be brief and describe what this does. So anytime a development is coming into the county, whether it be residential or commercial, they have to pass adequate public facilities ordinance tests. We already looked at education. That's the number of seats, how we calculate if a development can move forward based on the number of open seats in classrooms. We already went through that work group. There was a lovely report posted online. The council got to look at the report before the bill came. The bill came. It was a beautiful, seamless process. We passed that updated education, adequate public facilities ordinance. Transportation is another APFO. That says to the developer what they have to propose in their plans to pass transportation adequacy. We're very outdated in our APFO right now. We don't account for multimodal transit. So there's added language for bicycles, anything that would fall under the multimodal transit category. This work group has been meeting for 5 years. The bill was introduced to the county council. The county council did not see it prior to it being introduced, and there was no report, and the work group that worked on it for 5 years did not see a draft of the bill before it was introduced. So I'm not going to go into the detail of the bill, but I will tell you there was bipartisan frustration on Monday night's meeting, and it didn't work out too well for the county executive staff. I felt a little bad for them. They held the bill. They made a request to hold the bill. We could have killed the bill and sent it back to the county executive to give the county council more time to look at it, because once a bill is introduced, we have 95 days to pass it. So county executive's team has worked on it for 5 years. We didn't get a preview. We have 95 days to work on it, and it's a really important bill for development in our county to make sure we can absorb the traffic and transportation. So it will be back at our next meeting. I don't see how we are going to digest this without turning it into Swiss cheese, but we'll see. That's up and coming. Article 18, which is our massive zoning code, that's going to go through an entire rewrite that is coming hopefully at the end of November. I hope we get a sneak peek on the county council so we can give feedback. That's going to tweak all the little nuances about how far, when you're developing, you can be from your neighbor, how high. I mean, there's the list could go on, but it's how we build in Anne Arundel County and the details that go behind that building. Just a topic that I've already discussed with our partners at the state, e-bikes and e-scooters. I know if you have walked on the Broadneck Trail, the B&A Trail, any trail, or even a roadway, driven on a roadway, you've seen these things zipping around. They are a concern. There are already laws in place that are not being followed. So I don't know that legislation is going to be the fix, but it is something that is being discussed presently between the county officials, state officials, and state highway. Really quickly, I'm a little over. I will just say I've been very busy this year. I'm taking a little pause after passing a few pieces of legislation this past year. Didn't mean to have them end up in the arena of animals, but I passed an updated zoning code for animal hospitals and veterinary clinics so that they can have overnight stays for animals that don't have medical treatment. Passed a bill that allows for home occupations grooming, because grooming your pet is very important, and not everybody wants to take them, to a brick and mortar elsewhere. And then I recently passed a resolution for properties that have forest conservation easements, that the department produce a manual so that you don't accidentally run afoul of the forest conservation laws in the county. A lot of people want to do the right thing, but they just don't know how to find the information, and this will make it easy for people that have that property. And the one bill that I did pass that got press, I don't know why, but Alfred's bill, you can now have a pet pig in Anne Arundel County. That was a result of a constituent over in the other part of District 5 who had a pet pig who was living on a farm and just wanted to come home. Happy to share any details of anything that I've discussed at the appropriate time, and I just really thank you for listening.
Thank you all. Are you guys okay with answering some questions if we take 5 or 10 minutes if anybody has anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Just as everybody is aware, we're down a speaker due to the family, so we have some extra time built in if we wanted to take a few questions. I'll open the floor, and if there's questions on bills or priorities, fire away. Yes, sir.
Just a comment, Amanda. I share your concern. I use the bike trail. I walk. I'd like to use my bike when it opens up fully. But better signage probably would help, because there's a lot of confusion about what's legal and not legal. Right now, the only sign says no motorized vehicles.
Yep.
That's very vague. People don't always understand the difference between class 1, class 2, class 3.
You're exactly right.
My bicycle with no battery is required, so I don't like, get intimidated by somebody coming along 20 miles an hour shooting by.
I agree 100% with that.
So maybe somebody can come up with more,
Big sign.
more signage and a little bit
Yep.
more clarity on what is allowed and what's not allowed.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
It's my understanding that airlines are eliminating excess fuel over the Chesapeake Bay as they're, I guess, coming into land. And we're seeing evidence in the waterways. We live off a creek. And this doesn't seem like a really good thing for the bay. Is it something the airlines are doing illegally?
Yeah, defer to environment.
Yeah, yeah.
DNR, we got DNR here, right?
Yeah. I have not heard that specifically, but me and Maddie on my team are here, are happy to look into it and follow up. And I mean, if it is happening, I would like to also get more information about it, so we can follow up. But thank you for your question.
Anybody else? Up, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, for the health improvements, does that also include like mental health and homeless in Anne Arundel County and Annapolis?
Are you talking about the head model specifically?
Just you
Or generally?
You were touching across a lot of the Medicare, Medicaid, and health, but I didn't know.
Oh, okay, yes, in terms of Medicare and Medicaid, yes, it does. And in fact, Maryland has really strong parity laws between somatic care and behavioral health care, and we actually shored up those laws last year. We passed a bill that gave the Maryland Insurance Administration some more authority and enforcement, because right now our carriers are required to prove that they are meeting our network adequacy requirements, and also that they are paying out for behavioral health. But the reporting that they were doing previously was a bit kind of word salady. So they would send these reports to the Insurance Administration. The Insurance Administration would say, okay, this report isn't telling us what we need to do. They'd send it back, and it would be like 6 months to a year, and the next reporting cycle would come around before they'd actually have the information. So we went through a very lengthy process to make sure that we were getting the information that we needed to ensure that we had compliance. And in terms of the assisted outpatient treatment, that is specific to behavioral health. That's for those communities it gives a civil process whereby providers, family members, community, friends and family can petition the courts for assisted outpatient treatment, which is a civil process where for people that don't necessarily meet that dangerous standard, but they're cycling so that you can intervene before they decompensate to the point of the dangerous standard. And it creates a court process whereby they have a care coordination team, a treatment plan, everybody agrees to it, they have check-ins with the court, but there's no court record that's created, and the record of the process itself is actually sealed, so that it doesn't impede other aspects of people's lives. It's been very effective in other states. As I said, we're one of the last 3 states that didn't have a program, but that gave us the ability to look at how it had worked in other states. We went by like the best models in the country, and also where the pitfalls were, so we were able to avoid those as well. And it balances civil rights with the right to be healthy.
Pat has a question.
I have a question. There is a thrust amongst some organizations in the county to move from planning advisory board, Amanda, which I believe you are well aware of, up to a planning advisory commission. One of the examples is the bill that you just talked about, is the length of time, the short length of time the council has. And with considerations like that, would like to know, what is your opinion of moving from a board to a commission? There are pages of material on it that tell how much more assistance is provided with a commission over a board. And of the 24 counties, the 24 counties in the state of Maryland and the Baltimore City, there are only two that are the planning advisory boards, and Anne Arundel County is one. And there's a thought that it's time to move up to a commission because of, for example, many of the bills really need more advisory time and study time and more staff. What is your thought on that?
So I'll try to be quick on this. Yes, Anne Arundel County is one that does not have a planning commission. I have reached out to our friends in the jurisdictions that do have planning commissions. I've heard some positives, but I've also heard that some council members and commissioners feel that their authority as a legislative body has been chipped away at a little bit, and it's added another step in the process. Instead of, for instance, right now, what I envision the county administration should be doing is walking the legislative branch through massive bills like this that are introduced. Certainly, if there was a planning commission, if that's the way that the majority of the council decides to go, or even the county executive, you would still have to, one, have the administration explain it to the commission and or the legislative branch at the same time, and then have the commission then walk the legislative branch through it. So it adds an additional layer of time and repetitiveness almost. I will say that I've also heard on the commission that we should appoint professionals who are knowledgeable about land use and development. Well, the professionals who are knowledgeable about land use and development are land use reviewers who work for the counties and developers. So I don't know how you put a solid, and this is something that has been challenging in other jurisdictions, is that the very people who serve sometimes have a stake in the game, if that makes sense. And I will also say that our planning advisory board is a board of 7 individuals appointed by the 7 council members. It is very difficult to get people to sign up to sit on commissions, especially one as extensive as a planning commission in our county. We're also undergoing, like I said, Article 18 update. I don't think that we should put a planning commission in place until we have updated the zoning code for a planning commission to even work off of. The county council is also beefing up our staff. We have made measures over the last 7 years to add positions to county council staff to make us more on par with the executive branch. We are never going to be the same. The executive branch, the county executive, oversees hundreds of employees in dozens of departments. We just want enough staff to be able to interpret the amount of legislation we're putting forth every year. And one of those positions is a legislative analysis who will provide the very feedback that a planning commission would, but is a paid staff member for the council. And I don't want to get ahead of that position and then have that position filled and that person not have a job that we had intended them to have. So there are a lot of moving parts right now, and I'm just not sure a planning commission right now is the right time.
If there's no other questions, or if there's a question that has to be asked, but otherwise, I'm gonna pause for a 5 to 10 minute break. We're gonna reposition some, yeah, go ahead.
Before we had the break, I did want to acknowledge really quickly something I forgot to say earlier. I know with the ongoing government shutdown and the quantity of federal workers in this area that may be affected by furlough or may not be getting paid right now, if you go to response.maryland.gov, there's a list of lots and lots of resources that the state has provided for people going through this really difficult time. So I urge you to check that out or share that information with anybody else. So sorry, I just wanted to say that really quickly.
Good point. We're just going to break for 5 to 10 minutes, reposition some stuff, then we're going to have a presentation from the State Highway Administration. So thank you all. Just kind of coming back together, I'm going to turn it over to Pat Lynch to introduce Teri, Soos, and go from there. Go ahead.
We are blessed to have Teri Soos with us again to give you an update on state highways and all the issues that we have to deal with she certainly has to deal with throughout the state. Teri is the deputy chief. She's the deputy chief operations manager for state highways. She has a vast span of control, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what she does, her challenges, and the information that we wanted to bring you tonight. So Teri, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, Ms. Pat, thank you, Bo.
Yeah.
Appreciate being here. We were here last year in October, kind of after the ramp closures for the summer Bay Bridge traffic. So I want very grateful to be back and provide some more updates today. Kim Tran is our district engineer for our local office here in Annapolis, District 5. She couldn't be here tonight because of a family emergency, as Bo reported earlier, but we do have some staff from our District 5 team. So we have Kelly Bolware, who's a community relations manager. We have Bob Olulabi, who is relatively new to the team, but he is the assistant district engineer for traffic. And also on our traffic team, who was here with us last year as well, is Jonathan McCoy. So if I can't answer any questions, they're going to help me out. And then I'll also mention that the State Highway Administration owns and operates the numbered routes. So the US 50s, the Maryland 2, those highways. We do not own and operate the Bay Bridge. So that's the Maryland Transportation Authority. So any toll facility is operated by them. So I do not have updates on the Bay Bridge, any concerns with the bridge or the crossing study. However, they did provide some cards on where they are with the study. So they are currently evaluating their alternatives. And the build alternatives include replacing the 2 existing Bay Bridge spans with either 2 4-lane spans or 2 5-lane spans, and they will be located just north or just south of the current bridge location. And US 50 301 approaching the Bay Bridge, so this would be more on the state highway side, would either remain as 3 lanes in each direction or be widened to 4 lanes in each direction. And the 2 existing bridge spans would be removed. So they are currently evaluating their alternatives. They anticipate publishing the draft environmental impacts statement in January of 2026. And they anticipate holding public hearings in February of 2026. And the cards are at the back table if anyone would like to one as they are leasing. All right. So as mentioned, we'll give a brief update on the ramp closures. So you're probably all familiar with the ramp closures that we have been trying to implement. This is actually 3 years now that we've implemented ramp closures, plus one in 2022 we had that temporary signal at the one Oceanic ramp, which didn't really work out. We haven't tried that since. But so 2022, before the signal was installed, is our baseline, meaning that we didn't have anything in place during the majority of that summer. 2023 was the first time that we implemented what we called the pilot. 2024, we were trying to identify trends that we could compare 23 and 24. In 2025, we're now comparing to see if those trends continue. Oh, wrong way. All right, so traffic trends. So this is just the volume of traffic. Average daily traffic on eastbound US 50 has remained relatively the same. So Friday is the highest travel volume day, upwards of around 54, 55,000 vehicles per day. Thursdays tend to be climbing up a little bit, approaching Friday volumes. Saturday decreasing just a little bit, and Sunday decreasing just a little bit.
Don't sleep on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Understood. And then comparing our travel time, so this reflects eastbound US 50 traffic from Maryland 70, so Row Boulevard to the Bay Bridge, which is a distance of about 7.5 miles. These are the average maximum travel time on Fridays and Saturdays. So relatively consistent, 22 to 25, ranging from on Fridays 29 to 35 minutes to go again those 7.5 miles. On Saturday, ranging from 22 to 31
Is
minutes.
there no time parameter attached to that? So that's just the aggregate day?
So correct. So that is the maximum, the average maximum travel time, right? So that does not account for like catastrophic events, right?
In a business, that's how you cook the books, right? Like you have to.
Can we hold the questions and let it get to the presentation?
Sure.
So the purpose of the ramp management really is we do not think that we can impact traffic on US 50, right? So that was the previous slide. Our purpose in trying to do the ramp management was trying to make things a little bit better on the service roads. So by our metrics, we think we've incrementally made that better, right? We know that the ultimate solution is the Bay Bridge crossing, right? We know there's not enough capacity on those existing bridges, and that's the problem. So this is just kind of an interim measure, right? So we know that we've been able to reduce the delay on the service roads. On eastbound Whitehall Road, we've been able to reduce average travel time by about 2 minutes. On eastbound College Parkway, average travel time by about 3 minutes. So we're not solving the world's problems, we're just trying to make it incrementally better. And from what we've heard the past few years, it is helpful. So again, these don't account for outlier events. You know, if there's a huge crash on the Bay Bridge and there's traffic everywhere, eventually that just floods everything, right? Like you can't go anywhere. So there are limitations to our infrastructure. But again, the purpose of the ramp closures was trying to make things incrementally better on the surface roads. So in 2024, in May of 2024, we did install a new traffic signal at Maryland 179 and Bush's Frontage Road. And by our measures, that seems to be helping traffic operations. So I also, work in the traffic and safety side of things. And we kind of want to reduce speeds in most cases. However, in this scenario, increasing our speeds meant less delay, right? So on northbound 179, we've noticed that our speeds went from 12 miles an hour, our average speed went from 12 miles an hour to 17 miles an hour. That just means that traffic's moving a little bit better through the signal versus that four-way stop. There is some additional delay on westbound Whitehall Road. That's a very low volume road. Now that signal is increasing some delay for the people traveling that direction. But that's kind of the trade-off that we captured there. And then another update, we changed the detour routes this summer, correct? Kelly, you can help me out with this one.
If they were signing on College Parkway, correct?
Yeah.
Say that again.
Yes, they were signing folks to use College Parkway. I think it was idea.
So, correct, instead of having people turn around and come back up Whitehall Road, sent them to eastbound College Parkway. Again, I think we're hearing that was generally a little bit helpful. All right, and with that, we're only able to capture so much information to determine if this is successful or not. So what we really need to do is get feedback from you on what is working, what seems to be working. Again, we are not going to solve everything with these ramp closures. We can only try to make it incrementally better. But we are looking to get feedback from you tonight. We will take comments all through the winter and make determinations for what we plan to do in the spring. We'll also work with some of the local businesses, get feedback, as well as our emergency services. So, yes, sir.
Assuming you find what amounts to the best fix that seems to work throughout the summer, are you planning to actually put a little money towards automation of these closure things happening, or do you still require people to come out with dump trucks and stuff and block it?
So one thing we did this summer is we did install a gate on Oceanic Drive. So that did help reduce our manpower that we have to put to these things. Some of our gate options, we were trying to keep it relatively simple. I don't know if you're aware of some of our budget concerns, but we don't have a lot of money to throw around at solutions, but we're trying to find the right solutions and match those things. So the gate was successful. We plan to leave that in operation. And the gate, and not having to have as much manpower out there, allows us to potentially add some more days. So I know last year when we were here, you really wanted us to add the Thursday in. I think that that's completely on the table this year. Like I said, we want to talk to some of the businesses in the area as well as emergency services. But that is certainly an option that we are considering for the summer of 2026.
I have a question over here.
Yes, sir.
I personally, I live off of Forward Road and Whitehall and Skidmore Drive. Those closures are not closed enough. You need to go back to Thursday and Sunday.
Thursday and Sunday?
Thursday and
I
Sunday.
agree with that one.
Yeah. I see more people, they be looking at each other going down and just spin right around and come right back. They see all those signs. People, you just cannot tell people they cannot be on the road. People are not gonna listen. That's just hard-headed Americans, just hard-headed. You're not gonna tell me I can't go out. Then they have to get up and you see all this nice line and you try to go left on the Whitehall. We all backed up in traffic because all these people are going around. They see all these signs. I don't know what else to do for you guys to do.
So that's some of the problems, right? So local people, they know people who travel it, who are commuters, they start to know, recognize the patterns. But of course, Bay Bridge, people going on vacations, they might only come once a year or once every few years, so they're not as familiar. So yeah, trying to get their attention with these things as well.
They're familiar, they know how to read.
Yes, sir.
On Colbert Road and Whitehall Road, there's a stop sign, been there forever, all of my 80-some years. And all of a sudden, since you close it off from the highway, 50, some of the cars that come out of Whitehall just come right on out. There is a stop sign, they should know it's a stop sign, and they should not be just coming out all the time. I stop at my stop sign on the service road, and some of them just come right on out,
Okay.
It's a big stop sign there.
So Kelly, maybe we could check if there's anything blocking that, and then we could look for it.
Maybe it should be bigger, so that's what I'm thinking, it should be bigger, because
Okay.
if you don't have the stop sign and they come out from Holly Beach, then guess what? We don't want no one at Colbert either. So you need to stop at the stop sign.
Would a rumble strip before the stop sign help?
No,
People pay
same
attention?
thing you've been using all the years. I've been down in Colbert Road 60-some years. Same stop sign's been there. I know the same stop sign is coming out of Colbert. I know the stop sign is on the service road. I stop, because stop means stop. It don't mean just swirl, it don't mean that. So that's the problem I've been having.
We have a question right back there, then this gentleman, then here, back there.
But my question is that
I got caught up in the traffic. We're relatively new. We live in Whitehall. And so I'm glad you close it off at Sandy Point, that end. But I got caught up at the traffic light at St. Margaret's, I think, going on to Whitehall because they're trying to get back onto 50 at that Whitehall entrance. Now, what's the, close that because the traffic is so backed up that we can't get home. And what advantage is it for them to get off at 179 there and get back on out that Whitehall?
Absolutely none. So there's no advantage to that.
It's
So
open.
we did close that in 2023.
23.
But again, because of the man hours and people having to sit there, we did.
And that's when the stop sign from Whitehall got ignored, I guess because you blocked it off. That don't mean, coming off of 50 have nothing to do with coming out of Whitehall. It's still a stop sign there, and it's a stop sign where I come up to get to Whitehall on the service road. It's a stop sign. You know, I shouldn't be there and have people, after I've stopped, I had people swirl right out in front of me.
You're not stopping.
And I stopped.
So I've got a gentleman in the back.
Okay.
Two questions. I'd like to kind of reiterate what she just said. She's absolutely spot on. At stop sign on Whitehall and Service Road. I've almost been T-boned 2 or 3 times. So people just blast to it because there's no left lane, there's no turn there. So and I've seen it happen several times. People have no idea they're oblivious. So there has to be either a lighted stop sign, a rumble strip, or some other mechanism to stop people. Otherwise, some people get hurt, or just eliminate the stop sign altogether and they're going to stop coming onto the access road. That's that. 2, regarding Waze, does the state of Maryland interact with Waze so that when people put that tracking in their phone, they know that these roads are closed?
Yes.
Yes, sir, we do. So we coordinate with Google Maps and Waze, and I think Apple Maps as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
It does it, sometimes it glitches and it like shows it's open, but we try and connect with them every week.
So Maryland shirt first, and then we'll get over here.
Where these problematic stop signs exist, would it be an application for a metered traffic light, you know, where it stays red for like 3 seconds and then lets one car go and it turns red again? Would that help?
So I'm gonna ask our traffic team to look at that, so they'll go back and look at what would be a better option.
Because I've seen
there.
that technology used sometimes on highway.
Yeah, it's called ramp metering.
Yeah.
And
so that might work
Been
instead
there
of a
all
stop
those
sign.
years as a stop sign. No rubber, whatever, stop sign is a stop sign. And it's been there forever, so what is it?
I got a question over here.
I got a lot of people driving on the roads who don't read the signs, so I get you.
Well, I shouldn't be driving.
Go ahead, sir.
I live on the north side, on the East College Parkway side. I do know the stop sign they're talking about. I suspect people are just coming down that road and just not noticing it's there. So maybe to some extent, even a really inexpensive solution that says, stop coming ahead, and then you have a stop sign. But I have another thing I wanted to mention. Something you might want to consider doing during the summertime is making sure that you trim back the trees so that they don't block out the signs to Route 50. I can't tell you how many times I've come down College Parkway, and I get to that Cape St. Clair thing, and they're telling you to turn left to get to 50, and guess what's covered? The sign that says turn left to Route 50.
Yes.
So they go straight, and then they end up coming down East College Parkway, turning around, and going back. So anyway, trim the trees.
It is a current effort to do that throughout our entire system
So
right now.
I have one
yes.
here, then there, and then in the back. So
I live off of East College Parkway, it's the only way to get home. And 2022, it was atrocious every weekend. It's been great since you put in
It
the
really has been
bollards.
great.
It's made a big difference.
So it's not like the 2 minutes that we're showing there, right? That's what I'm saying, like our data can only show so much,
It
right?
could go all the way back up to Rebel Downs and beyond, Bayhead. Yeah.
no question, ma'am. Good there, but Mike.
So we're on East College Parkway as well, our community that's there, it's, with the ramp closures, it's perfect. All the ambulances, fire trucks, everybody, no one has to wait to get into the community, in and out of the community. we do see Whitehall Road, and we have seen it stopped for 20, 30 minutes, just to get up and down Whitehall Road. But East College Parkway, we're good. You know, that,
John in the middle.
Yep. We're in the middle.
Listen, it's a complex problem, it's a complex situation. I made that comment earlier that I really do think that you need to maybe work a little bit more closely with the BCC to try and come to gather the information a little bit more thoroughly, because I don't think it's as simple as, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't think I think the times matter, and I think in order to parse this, it's gonna probably require a little bit more detailed analysis, and that's just my suggestion.
Terry, you might mention the complexity of Grumman and their demands that you don't close.
Oh, Grumman.
Northrop Grumman. So Kelly, do you want to mention some of the coordination you've had with them?
So, kind of leading up to this year's pilot, and also while this summer's pilot was underway, we were weighing how we could work with not just that business, but other local employees about whether or not the ramp closures were impacting some of their employees. So as Terry shared earlier, that's something that we are going to continue to have discussions with them about. I know I've personally taken a lot of calls regarding the Thursday requests regarding the ramp closures over the course of the summer. So I think that's something that definitely, as you mentioned, weighs into the overall analysis, not just for local employees, but how that's going to impact all the residents here. So that's a conversation that's ongoing. We have talked with their management to kind of get some feedback from them, and we're going to continue to have those conversations. So information like tonight is definitely helpful. We're going to take that back to talk with them and some of the other local businesses that shared concerns about the pilot.
So I'm just going to reiterate something I said in 2024 in front of this crowd, that while it's good, like we have to talk to Northrop Grumman because they're our largest private employer, we're 50,000 people, there's just a couple hundred that work there, and just because they have to go back across the bridge doesn't mean they should have priority over us, because we all work for jobs in the state, and we all have to travel that same corridor of Route 50 and get to our homes. I understand it's tough to get across the bridge, but people make decisions of where they have to live. We choose to live on this side of it because we don't want to deal with the other side. And the priority should be the people that are impacted on this side of the bridge. That's my public statement on that. So I know it wasn't popular back in 24. So go ahead, sir.
Just to add on top of that, those of us who live down in Whitehall, we have to suffer that same thing. So we're not asking the Grumman people to do anything that we're not doing.
Right.
We want to go so, I wanted to talk about the traffic light at 179. You mentioned the westbound. Can we please put a right turn lane in there?
Yeah.
Westbound onto 179 north. You have enough space with the shoulders to maybe move the lines over. And have a right turn lane, and that would cut that weight down big time.
Okay, so our team will take that back and evaluate that as well.
I got one more thing to say real quick. I almost got read in 3 times because coming down to Whitehall Road, there is a stop sign where the liquor store is at the mall. There's a stop sign there. I almost got read in 3 times. I stopped at that stop sign. So I have to come past Whitehall and go to Colbert. But why is they not stopping either way sometimes? I almost got read in, but I'm gonna stop there because it's a stop sign.
Certainly if there was room to put in a turn lane there that would let you move over and then go down Whitehall, that would be a little safer.
She has to go just past it. She has to go just past it to Colbert, yeah.
That's where it should be.
Yeah. So, is there any other questions? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just was gonna say as a follow-on to the comments about the stoplights and the turn signals. The stoplight and the turn, you know, right at East College Parkway there leading into the Cape, you know, probably needs a little bit of honing. Now that you've introduced the St. Margaret's, you know, Whitehall infrastructure there, and then additionally, you've introduced the same down in St. Margaret's and Pleasant Plains. I think there needs to be a little bit greater coordination. I've seen some people out working on some stuff. I know that they're obviously doing something, but I do think that we need to figure out how to get that. It's never going to be seamless, but you threw all that, you know, 2/3 of that was just thrown at us recently. It's definitely not seamless right now, and you know it can clog people up where you know they're having to carve out 10 and 15 minutes additional and, you know, that they just have never had to do for traversing those roads, so just a suggestion.
Okay.
Also on that Bush's frontage road, you guys need to send somebody in with speed control. People come off of 50, 55, 60 miles an hour and get on that access road and keep flooring that access road, which is probably 40. They never even, just like it's crazy. You almost got to take, you're trying to get out the Exxon or the Wawa, you hit on taking your life because they come off that for 50 and just keep moving. I mean, just don't even slow up.
I mean, aggressive driving is just a problem statewide, so we're looking to.
The rumble strips leading off of 50 onto Bush's frontage road have worn down over the years. They don't produce nearly as much noise as they used to.
Maybe we could reach
Are there any additional questions?
All right, just a few updates that Kim would wanted me to report. So we heard about the interchange lighting on US 50 at the 4 different interchanges leading up to the Bay Bridge. The lights were down, they weren't operational. The teams did work this summer. They want to thank you for your patience. Doing really old lighting in an outdoor setting with old wires and old cabinets and old conduit is a difficult task, but they are up and they are operational now. So we want to thank the team for addressing that. And then additionally, we did do some roadway resurfacing on Skidmore and Whitehall between St. Margaret's and Oceanic Drive. So that was completed this summer, and we are currently resurfacing Oceanic and East College Parkway. So that is milled now and should be complete this fall. Yes. Any questions on any of that?
One question.
Yes,
Could the glare prevention on 50 West, as it affects College Parkway, there's some there are some that are missing, and maybe it could be brought farther down, because it's really hard to have the glare from the headlights coming across.
Okay. Is that like the green screens?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a common complaint that we've heard through Broadneck Council, is both the glare from the change lane, but also with the new bike path, that there's not enough guardrails to protect people if somebody comes off the road on 908 there, that, you know, there's not enough safety protection along stretches there. And I don't know what can be done about that. I know it's both a county project, your all's right away, all within there, but I think that the traffic moving back and forth, some of the sidewalk, some of the sidewalks that come in there, a little unsafe. They're kind of turned more to the roadway than maybe they should. I don't know if that's a county problem on that one. And then obviously, just what's the safety when people are driving up over those curbs, particularly at 40 miles an hour. I guess we've had a couple complaints that came through the biking aspect. So I know it's your all's roadway. I don't know where the right-of-way is between the county project and your project, but things to potentially address along with obviously the lights. Everybody knows the lights are brighter these days on vehicles, much brighter, and that's causing issues. So I don't know if you can raise that a little bit so it blocks the.
Yeah, we can talk with Anne Arundel County DPW, because we've had some conversations with them as they're wrapping up the trail project and connecting to what we've done, so we can.
Yeah, we've made some comments to them too, but since you're here, I figured we'd get those comments in also. Yes, sir, here.
You broached the subject of the bike trail stuff. When's that gonna be done?
So that's a county project. Technically, it's wrapping up. Amanda had left. She just walked out. I know she had to pick up a kid. There's information on the Anne Arundel County site that is there. They were projecting when the portion, or you're just talking about East College Parkway portion, they're in final like punch list items at this point in time. And that's why we're trying to get them to recognize that there may be some safety features along there that no one had really thought of given the real world build out of it. So it's supposed to be by the end of the year. That bridge down on off College Parkway by Kim Woods is nearing completion finally after 3 years.
It was supposed to be last year too.
Well, it was supposed to be a 10-month project that was to end in 23, but yes. You know,
Almost, also known as Kidwood Canyon.
Camden Canyon, there you go, yes ma'am, right there.
What is the process for getting a speed bump put in a place where there are lots of children and people are speeding? It's Homewood Landing off of Whitehall going down to the.
That's a county road, a county issue, and I can address that for you
Oh,
outside of this meeting. There's a neighborhood neighborhood traffic program through county DPW. We go through it all the time in Cape St. Clair.
Oh.
They have to study it. It takes, several members of your community to sponsor it, be involved in the knowledge of it. It's a fire police response issue. It's a county DPW issue, and they all get to have input. And then, of course, it's a budget issue as to what the solution can be. So we have 26 miles of roadways in here. We have to do it all the time.
Lots of little kids and speeding cars.
Understood. Question there.
The St. Margaret's Road, I back up to it, just near Old Mill Bottom Road. Traffic is really heavy, especially Thursday nights. A week ago Thursday, I don't know what was going on. They were behind my house at 9, 10 o'clock at night.
There's a big accident.
But also, to me, it doesn't make any sense. They use that as a bicycle route. On both sides of the road, it's grown over the last year or so, over top of the guardrails and everything. There's not enough room for a bicycle route. It's too narrow of a road. I mean, years ago, when I first moved out there, they ended up putting wider lanes, the strips on there, made it wider because they said that they try to keep people more inside the traffic because they were trying to think. But I don't understand why it's still a bicycle route. It's just too dangerous.
It's a very desirable route from Annapolis out towards the Bay Bridge. It frankly would be nice if there was a decent bicycle route for people on that road, but there isn't.
So bicycles are legally allowed on the road under state code. You have to change state code to not have a bicycle travel on a travel lane. So they have the right just like a car. That is the actual official answer if a state legislator was sitting here telling you that, or any of them, and I'll just answer it because we answer it all the time. So, but
the question is,
if you can get a bike lane on there, that'd be different. That's a state highway issue. It is a state highway, and I know there's not a lot of siding on that road, and there's probably also some sort of scenic thing attached to parts of old St. Margaret's, but that also causes other issues. Was there another question? There was Mike there.
Yep. So the traffic light at St. Margaret's and the Bushes Front Road, I work second shift the weekends, and it's a red stoplight. Is there any consideration that once the traffic finishes, that it can change over to the sort of blinking red and let cars yield as their purview?
You're talking like 11 o'clock at night and beyond?
Well, 2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Yeah.
I'll defer to my traffic team if you wanna.
It just stays at red, and if you miss it, then, I don't wanna run the light, but you end up waiting 2-3 minutes for no cars at 3 a.m., so.
I think they're gonna take it back and look at it.
Okay.
Or can it be all more automated to change more frequently when there's no one else around?
But that's, the technology on that.
Technology.
Any other questions there? No?
Yes.
Go. Take the last one.
What are you planning for next year?
So we're gathering that feedback from you tonight. You can
So
send us
no
emails.
definite plans yet.
We do not have definite plans yet. So we are taking it all in, and we'll make that determination. Probably.
You can submit comments on the website.
Absolutely.
Okay, Pat's got the last question.
Yeah, question to you, Teri. That is, there are lots of excellent questions asked tonight, and with your team here, I would like to have responses to as many as you can possibly respond, and we will send out a newsletter of what you're able to respond to in writing that give us more factual information about how we're gonna solve these problems.
We can, yep,
And
absolutely.
then my final request is just, are you able to email this to us?
Sure.
So we can
Sure.
share that as part of our distribution of the video and everything like that? Okay. So, yes, Becky?
One last question. You said send your comments in. I know the website, I have all the information at home, but there's no slide that says comments.
Who to
for-
contact?
Yeah.
Kelly, is there a preferred contact? Where should,
Email or site to,
As far as sending comments?
yes, where,
So for the rent management project, we do have an SHA project page set up for that. And there's actually an email that is SHAINPUT@maryland.gov, and you can submit that, and that goes straight to me and other folks. But I
Kelly,
make sure
can you email me and I'll email
Absolutely.
Becky?
Yep, you can send all the feedback and
I'll
comments.
just get it for you.
We'll put it on the.
We'll put it on the website and our Facebook page and all that stuff too. Okay. Terry, thank you very much for your
Thank
time
you.
and the team's time. Appreciate it. So I want to make one last just statement here. Thank you all for coming out, staying the full 2 hours. It is just shy of 9 o'clock. There is Thursday night football on. There are things to get to. But at the end of the day, thank you all for attending. If you're interested in joining Broadneck Council as an individual family or a community, please come chat with me. We need more volunteers. We need more people to be active. You know, we have some elections in January.
Can't represent you if you don't talk to us.
Right, so if nothing else, please communicate with us and give us feedback on how we're running these events so that we can also do better for everybody and have important conversations. But otherwise, we'll close this. It's 8:59. Thank you.
Thank you, Bo.
Yeah.